Hi there, today we're going to talk all about moving out of your parents' house, especially those of you that are moving for the first time. We're going to cover 5 main points. That's going to be staying quiet, your budget and finances, how to locate an apartment, furnishing the apartment, and lastly, all the documents you need. And I even included a little bonus tip at the end that I wish I would have known the first few times that I moved out. It can be embarrassing and frustrating to move out of your parents' house. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about it, and a lot of people just don't know what to do and feel really embarrassed and shy to do it, but it doesn't have to be. And I think the better informed you are, the better equipped you are, and thus making that process so much easier. Hi, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Brownie. I am a first-gen grad. I've moved out of my parents to move to college. I've moved abroad to Italy for a semester. And most recently, I moved back in with my parents post-grad and moved out, and now I'm back home preparing for an even bigger move that I'm very excited to share. So I wanted to share all the information that I've learned along the way to help you guys out. So my first point is staying quiet, especially for those of us with parents that are the type to speak fear into your heart. I think it's really demoralizing to share that, hey, I want to move out, and your parents' first response is, you can't do that, or how are you going to manage, or what are you going to do, or what do you know about living on your own? Well, that's why I'm making this video. And also, some parents can tend to want to make that process even harder for you, right? You tell them that you're moving out, and now they want you to pay higher rent, and now they have more bills for you to do, and then they want to set you back, because some parents, honestly, it's hard for them to let go, and they express that in a really way about it, you know? Staying quiet doesn't mean don't tell anyone. It just means being selective. I personally didn't tell my parents until I was ready to sign that lease. But I told my friends or people that I could potentially be roommates with. I told people around me that would be supportive of it, right? Then is one of the most important tips I can give you, your budget and your finances. The most important step is knowing how much money is coming in and out. What do I mean by that? How much money are you making and how much money are you spending? Because once you're out there in the real world, or once you're out there living by yourself or living with roommates, finances get tight and you have to be way more cognizant of what you do. I personally track through a budget planner that I'll have linked below. I use it. I really like knowing how much money is coming in and out so that I can know and predict how much money I'll spend when I'm out of the house, right? But a pen and paper works just fine as long as you're tracking your expenses. And when it comes to your budget and your finances, it's super critical to know this now, because once you're out of the house also, you have more bills piling up, like your water bill, your electricity, on top of your rent. Your rent is never just the amount that you're going to pay when you're living on your own. You're living at home, this is the least amount of bills you're ever going to pay. So getting those good habits now is so critical, because once you're out and have to learn the hard way, it doesn't get easier to budget and finance. So if you're not budgeting and financing now when you're at home and don't have as many bills to pay, it's going to be 1,000 times harder when you're out of the house. So now when it comes to budgeting and finance, it's also very important to know, how much rent can I afford? Economists say ideally it's 30%. It used to be 25, but we know that the current state of the world is difficult. So they say that you should not spend more than 30% of your gross income. Now, what is gross? There's gross and there's net. Gross is how much money you make before taxes are taken out. So let's say you're supposed to make $2,000 a month, but after taxes and everything, you make $1,500. Economists say that you should budget out of that $2,000. I say go even stingier and budget out of the $1,500 that you're actually making, because that $2,000, okay, cool, but you're not actually seeing that $2,000 in your bank account. So let's say, for example, this is just a random number to make the math easier. Let's say, for example, after taxes, you're bringing in $1,000 a month. That means you shouldn't be spending more than $300 a month in rent. Does that make more sense? I highly, highly recommend, when it comes to moving out for the first time, it's so easy to go above your means and see the shiny amenities and see this and that, and try to reason to yourself why you can afford to pay $100 more, $200 more. It's fine, I can find $100 or $200 more. It's always best to live below your means, especially when you're starting out, because mistakes are inevitable. It's okay. You're not trying to avoid all of the mistakes in the world. You're just trying to make your life easier, right? Now, moving on to point 3. How do you locate an apartment? First, I'm going to want you to make a list of your needs and wants. Now, that's different for everybody. I need good lighting in my apartment. That might just be a want for somebody. I don't necessarily need a dishwasher, but that could be a need for somebody, right? So make sure that you're very clear on what your needs and wants are, whether that's location, whether that's price, whether that's amenities. have a very clear list, and then you go onto Facebook Marketplace. I love Facebook Marketplace for things like this. Zillow, apartments.com, etc., and you start filtering. I found my apartment through an apartment locator. Also, if you're in a city that does apartment locators, it's a great service. This is not sponsored in any way, but apartment locators are a free service, so just go on Instagram or TikTok. Apartment locators are just people that help you find an apartment based on your needs, wants, and budget. But the good thing about them is they don't charge you. They charge the actual apartment themselves because they get a commission off of you signing a lease with them. So it's a completely free service for you to use. I used an apartment locator twice to find 2 different apartments here in Charlotte, and it was a great experience. I didn't mind it at all. But I was also able to find apartments through Zillow, apartments.com, and Facebook back in my college days as well. And when I was looking, I was also using those services. And lastly, a very underrated tip is just walk around. Walking around will have, especially around obviously the neighborhoods that you want to live in, will have you finding some gems. And ideally, those are more likely to be, like those little for rent signs, are most likely to be from people that are individual landlords, meaning a mom and pop, meaning one person. And it's much easier to deal with just one person or one landlord instead of a conglomerate, especially like when you're post-grad and when you just are moving out of the house for the first time. Your finances might not be the best, your credit score might not be the best. And I find that individual landlords are a lot more forgiving in those spaces versus a conglomerate because they just see you as a number and check you out. With an individual landlord, you're able to be a lot more personable with them. Now, point number 4 is furnishing your apartment. Take your time. Please, for the love of God, take your time. You do not have to have a fully IKEA'd out apartment on the first day that you move out. It's completely fine to take your time and just get the essentials at first. What are the essentials? A couch, maybe. Honestly, this couch right now that I have doubles as a bed. I wish I would have gotten the couch before the bed because I would have just had the couch for months and not have had to buy a bed. But just the essentials. You just need a bed. You just need a couple pots and pans. Go to the dollar store and get some plastic plates and silverware. Like, it's okay to not have a pristine apartment at first. I think this age of social media, it's so easy to see 19-year-olds moving into their first apartment and it's all decked out, no white refrigerators in sight. Everything is a matching set. They have it all decked out. It's okay to just have what you need at first because furnishing an apartment is so much. The first time you furnish an apartment costs a lot. After that, basically you already have everything, and the most expensive part about moving is the deposits and so forth. Now, when it comes to where to find this furniture, liquidation stores and Facebook Marketplace are your best friend. I was able to furnish my college apartment, my college bedroom, for under $200. That includes a bed frame, what else? Storage, an AC unit. Facebook Marketplace is your best friend in those liquidation sites as well. On top of that, I feel like furnishing could be its own little breakdown. So I'm going to make a follow-up video in the future on what you need specifically for every single room in your house. So I'm going to do a deeper dive into that. Now, my last point is documents. I think this is something that a lot of people forget about or throw to the side. And then when it comes time to signing your lease or getting everything in order, it can be very hectic. So if you know about it beforehand, I think it just makes your process way easier. So you're probably going to need your bank statements. That's going to be just as proof of income. Whatever income you put down when you're renting a place, especially from a conglomerate or even a mom and pop, they're going to want to verify. When I did my renting through a conglomerate, how they verified my income is through a third-party site where I had to log into my multiple bank accounts because I was making about $4,000 a month, so that's what I put down. And they're basically sourcing all $4,000. They want to see that it's actually coming in. And I had a lot of bank accounts because I do multiple direct deposits, so I had to log into a lot of my bank accounts. Then you are going to need your ID. Any sort of identification, whether that's your passport, your social security, your driver's license, etc., have those handy because they're probably going to want to copy. Ooh, going back to my point on bank statements and proof of income, sometimes for us new grads, we don't have a income yet, but we do have a job post-grad. A lot of places will accept your offer letter as long as the offer letter includes that you're going to be employed, what date, and the amount of money that they're going to pay you. And lastly, if you have pets, get their vaccines and ESA info in order. A fun fact about emotional support animals, they are federally protected under the Fair Housing Act. So if you have an ESA, technically an apartment or landlord is not allowed to charge you any money for it. No pet deposit, no pet rent. they cannot charge you money for an ESA. So make sure that if you have those letters and things, to get them in order. Now for my bonus tip. Know your renter laws in your state. Know your renter laws in your state. I had a nightmare of a landlord, and he was awful. We were in New York at the time, and he was charging us for water, and we later found out that legally he couldn't have done that. And when we first wanted to rent from him, me and my roommate each had a cat, and we told him prior, but we also included that both had ESAs. They were both ESA animals for us. And he still said, hey, verbatim, he said, I know what the law is, but I don't do that. I'm not, like, he was trying to charge us $500 per cat, even though we told him, hey, that's illegal. But we knew the law, so we literally told him on that call, hey, like, that's not legal. We're going to have to think about that then. And then he called us 10 minutes later and was like, I talked to my associate and we decided to let you have the pet. Yeah, you decided to let us have the pet. It's illegal. So knowing your renter laws is so important. So one, you don't get scammed. And two, you can be a better renter because you know what protections you have. Another protection that you had in New York was that you couldn't be charged more than 1 month's rent for a security deposit. He was trying to charge us 3 months rent security deposit, wanted us to give the first and last month. The only thing that he was allowed to charge us was 1 month's rent of a deposit and to charge us for the first month, meaning that then when we moved in June, he couldn't charge us again in June. We had to wait until July to officially start paying rent. So knowing your rental laws is super important. It's as easy as just going online and typing in state or city's rental laws. It's going to be different in every state and every city. So just make sure that you're somewhat informed before you rent, because it can save you a lot of headache. And another bonus tip, because I'm just so nice, get everything in writing. For the love of God, get everything in writing. If your landlord is a caller like ours was, we made sure to text him afterwards confirming what happened, saying, hey, so-and-so, thanks for following up with us. We discussed such and such. We agreed on such and such. Please feel free to correct anything if I got anything wrong, or please let me know if you have any additions, or like, please let me know if this sounds good. Because then if you have to go to court, which hopefully you don't, you have that backup. Thank you so much for watching. This was my first of many YouTube videos, hopefully. Stayed and watched this long and you want to be more involved in the day-to-day of someone making a really big move out of their parents' house, follow me on Instagram and TikTok, where I post almost daily. And please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Okay, bye.